Chosen one, only 7 minutes left. Heaven has released a major financial blessing. I want you to understand something about the moment you are living in right now. Not the moment in general terms, this specific moment. The one where you chose to be here watching this, giving your attention to something that your spirit drew you toward before your reasoning had a chance to evaluate whether it was worth your time. That pull, the specific, inexplicable gravitational force that brought you to this moment, is not random. It never has been. And I need you to receive what I am about to say, not with the skeptical, self-protective distance that disappointment teaches, but with the open, present, full-capacity attention of someone who has learned, through everything they have been through, that certain moments arrive for specific reasons. This is one of those moments. Heaven has released something over your life, a financial blessing of a scale and a specificity that your current circumstances have not yet reflected, but that is already in motion in the unseen dimension of your story, already moving through channels, being positioned right now, already carrying your name in a way that the natural world has not yet caught up to. And the most important thing I can tell you in this moment is not that the blessing is coming. It is that the blessing is here in the realm where all things begin before they become visible, and that your job, starting in the next few minutes of this conversation, is to learn how to position yourself to receive it fully when it arrives in the material dimension of your life. Because receiving a major financial blessing is not passive. It is the most active spiritual and practical work a chosen person can do. And today, I want to teach you exactly how it is done. Let me describe the specific quality of the season you have been living in. Not the surface version, the interior one. You have been existing in a particular kind of tension that is difficult to explain to people who have not experienced it. The tension between what you believe is true about your life, the provision that is coming, the breakthrough that is being prepared, the financial shift that you have been praying and believing and working toward, and what your circumstances are currently showing you. That gap between spiritual reality and material circumstance is one of the most demanding places a human being can live, because it requires you to hold two truths simultaneously that feel, from the inside, like they are in direct contradiction with each other. The truth of what you believe, that God has not forgotten you, that the provision is real, that the financial blessing you have been waiting for is genuinely being prepared and is genuinely on its way. And the truth of what you see, the accounts that do not reflect that provision yet, the circumstances that have not yet changed, the daily reality of a life in which the breakthrough you believe is coming has not yet fully arrived in the visible dimension. Living between those two truths is genuinely hard. It requires a quality of faith that most people never develop, not because they are less capable of it, but because the specific pressure required to forge it is the pressure of exactly this kind of season. You have been in that pressure. You have been holding both truths, sometimes barely, sometimes with everything you have, through a season that has been longer than you expected and more costly than it had any right to be. And today, I want to tell you what that holding has produced, what the pressure has built, and what the blessing that has been released is about to find when it arrives at the life you have been maintaining through everything this season has required. Understand that released does not mean delivered. Your participation bridges the gap. The first thing I need to establish clearly, because misunderstanding it will cause you to miss what is coming, is the difference between a blessing that has been released and a blessing that has been received. Released means it has been authorized, approved, set into motion from the source. The decision has been made, the provision has been designated, the channel through which it will flow has been identified. But released is not the same as delivered. And the gap between the two, the space between what heaven has authorized and what your material life reflects, is not empty space. It is active space. Space in which your participation, your positioning, your readiness, and your receptivity all play significant roles in how quickly and how completely the release blessing arrives in your experience. Think of it this way. A letter sent from a location across the world has been released the moment it is placed in the mail. But it does not arrive until the recipient is present at the address it was sent to, available to receive it, recognized by the delivery system, in the right place at the right time. Your job right now is to be at the address, to be present, positioned, and recognizable to the provision that is moving toward you. To ensure that when the financial blessing that has been released arrives at your life, it finds you ready rather than absent. Everything I am going to tell you today is about how to be at the address. Clear the spiritual and emotional blockages that slow the delivery. This truth requires the kind of honesty that is uncomfortable, but that produces the most immediate and significant results. There are things in your spiritual and emotional life that slow the delivery of what has been released, not things that prevent it permanently. Nothing can prevent what heaven has authorized for a chosen person, but things that create friction in the channel through which provision flows, things that reduce the speed and the completeness with which the blessing arrives. Chief among them is unforgiveness, the specific, named, still present resentment toward people who have wronged you, who have cost you financially, who have taken what was yours, who have made the difficult season harder through their choices that you have not yet released. Unforgiveness does not punish the person who wronged you. It creates static in the channel through which your blessing is traveling. It is the single most consistent blockage between the released blessing and the received blessing in the lives of chosen people who are in exactly the season you are in. Release it, not because what was done to you was acceptable, not because the person deserves it, because you deserve the unobstructed flow of what has been released in your direction. Because the clearing of that specific blockage is one of the most direct, most immediately effective things you can do to accelerate the delivery of what is already in motion. Today, before this conversation ends, begin the release. Speak the blessing into your life before it arrives. There is a power in declaration that most people significantly underestimate, and that chosen people who receive major financial blessings consistently and deliberately employ. The words you speak about your financial life are not neutral. They are creative. They participate in the construction of the reality they describe, not in a magical, incantation-based sense. In the deeply practical, neurologically grounded sense that the language you use about your situation shapes how you think about it, how you respond to opportunities within it, and what you subconsciously filter as relevant or irrelevant to your circumstances. Begin speaking what has been released rather than only what you can currently see, not with the performative positivity of someone who is ignoring reality, but with the specific, faith-based, eyes-open declaration of someone who knows that the visible and the real are not always the same thing. Say it aloud, in private, regularly, specifically. Name the financial freedom. Name the provision. Name the blessing that has been released. Not because the naming creates it from nothing, but because the naming aligns your awareness, your attention, and your active expectation with the direction from which what has already been created is arriving. Words that align with released truth accelerate its delivery. Begin speaking accordingly. Take one practical financial step today. Faith without action is incomplete. This is the point where spiritual preparation converts into material positioning, and it is where many chosen people, through the very real fear of getting it wrong, fail to do the thing that their breakthrough most requires. You need to take a step, a specific, practical, financially relevant step. Today. Not a perfect step, not the final step. Not the step that requires having all the information and all the resources and all the certainty that you do not yet have. The next available step in the direction of the financial reality you are believing for. Open the account, make the call, send the email, register the business, begin the course. Have the conversation you have been postponing. Apply for the opportunity you have been telling yourself you are not yet ready for. Whatever the specific next step is, the one that you already know, in the part of you that is always honest, take it today. With the fear present, if the fear is present. With the incomplete information, if the information is incomplete. With the faith that the step itself will produce clarity that the standing still never could. Major financial blessings released from heaven require human action to fully manifest in the material world. The action does not earn the blessing, it receives it. There is a profound difference between those two things, and the difference is what transforms passive believing into active receiving. Take the step today. Protect your faith environment during the delivery period, the period between when a major blessing is released and when it fully arrives in the material dimension of your life is the period of maximum vulnerability. Not to the failure of the blessing that is not at risk, to the erosion of your faith in its arrival. And faith erosion, in this specific period, almost always comes through the same door, other people's voices. Not malicious voices necessarily. The voices of people who love you but whose capacity for belief does not match the scale of what has been released for your life. Who speak from their own experience of what is possible rather than from the specific truth of what has been designated for yours. Who offer practical concern that, however well-intentioned, plants doubt in soil that needs faith. Protect your faith environment, not by isolating yourself or by becoming arrogant about whose perspective has value, but by being deliberately selective during this specific delivery period about who speaks into your expectation. Surround yourself physically, digitally, spiritually with voices that build faith rather than erode it, with stories of provision that remind you that what you are believing for has happened in other lives and is therefore real, with community that prays with you rather than worries at you. Your faith is the receptacle that the blessing is being poured into. Keep it clear, keep it spacious, keep it protected from the voices that would inadvertently shrink it below the size of what has been released. Give from what you have right now. Generosity opens the final gate. This instruction will feel counterintuitive in direct proportion to the financial pressure you are currently under. And I want to acknowledge that tension honestly before asking you to move through it. Giving when you are waiting for financial breakthrough feels backwards. It feels like the thing you do after the blessing arrives, not before. It feels like the action of someone who has enough, not the action of someone who is still believing for enough. But here is what I know from both scripture and from observed experience. In the lives of people who move from financial lack into financial abundance, generosity in the waiting period is not the consequence of the blessing. It is one of the final keys that releases it fully into the material dimension. When you give, specifically, deliberately, from what you currently have, even when what you currently have feels insufficient, you are making a declaration that supersedes your circumstances. You are stating through the language of action rather than words that you are not governed by scarcity, that your identity is not defined by your current limitation, that the generous person you are becoming is already present, not waiting for the resources to arrive before they begin expressing themselves. That declaration made through giving rather than through words is one of the most powerful spiritual acts available to a person in your position. And its effect on the delivery of what has been released is real, consistent, and often surprisingly rapid. Give something today, whatever you can, from wherever you are, and watch what the giving opens. Identify the channel the blessing is already moving toward you through specific people. Major financial blessings released from heaven do not typically arrive from nowhere. They arrive through people, through specific conversations, specific relationships, specific intersections of your path with someone who is carrying something that is meant for you. This means that one of the most practical things you can do right now is pay careful attention to the people appearing in your life, specifically to the ones who are appearing unexpectedly, who reach out without an obvious reason, who come to mind persistently when you are quiet, who show up in your environment at a timing that does not follow ordinary social logic. These are not always coincidences. In the season of a major financial blessing in delivery, the channels through which it will arrive are often already positioning themselves. Arriving before the provision is fully visible, establishing relationship before the opportunity is fully formed. Be present with people right now. Be genuinely curious about who is arriving and why. Ask questions. Follow up. Maintain connections that feel significant even when you cannot yet fully explain why they feel that way. The person who carries what has been released for you may already be in your environment. Pay attention with the specific, alert, faith-based awareness of someone who knows that provision is moving toward them and that it is moving through people. Rest in the certainty rather than striving in the anxiety. This instruction is specifically for the chosen person who has been working so hard for so long, maintaining faith through such sustained difficulty that the idea of rest feels almost irresponsible, like something that should wait until the blessing has fully arrived rather than something appropriate to the waiting period itself. I want to reframe that belief completely. The striving that comes from anxiety, the frantic, fear-driven activity that is more about managing the fear of the blessing not arriving than about genuinely building toward it, is not what the delivery period requires. In fact, anxious striving creates a specific quality of energy in your life that actually interferes with the clear reception of what is coming. Rest is not inactivity. It is the specific, faith-saturated settledness of someone who has done what they have been asked to do, who has taken the steps, cleared the blockages, protected the faith environment, given generously, and who has then placed what remains beyond their control in the hands of the one who controls it. That rest, that genuine, peaceful, confident settledness in the certainty of what has been released, creates a quality of receptivity that striving never produces. It keeps the channel clear. It maintains the spaciousness that significant provision needs to land in. It allows you to recognize the arriving blessing when it comes, rather than being too exhausted by anxious effort to see it clearly. Rest in what has been released. Trust the process that has been set in motion. And let the settledness itself be a form of faith. Prepare your infrastructure before the blessing is fully visible. A major financial blessing arriving into a life without financial infrastructure creates a specific and painful problem that many chosen people discover only after the blessing has already been partially dissipated. The blessing arrives. It is real. It is significant. And the life it arrives into does not have the structures, the accounts, the advisors, the knowledge, the systems necessary to receive it, protect it, and multiply it, rather than absorbing it into the existing gaps without compound effect. Begin building the infrastructure now, before the full scale of the blessing is visible. Not because you are presuming on what is coming, but because preparation is an act of faith that declares your certainty about its arrival. Understand how wealth is held and grown at a level beyond where you currently are. Identify the financial advisors, the legal structures, the investment vehicles that are appropriate to significant financial increase. Develop the basic financial literacy that makes wise stewardship possible when the resources arrive. This preparation is not arrogant, it is faithful. And infrastructure built in the waiting period is ready to receive and protect what arrives, rather than having to be built in the rush of arrival when clear thinking is harder. Receive it as yours completely, gratefully, without the weight of unworthiness, the final key. The one that for many chosen people is the most difficult of all. When the financial blessing arrives in whatever form it takes, through whatever channel it comes, at whatever timing God has determined is precisely right, receive it completely, without the reflexive minimizing, without the guilt that has sometimes followed good things in your life, without the complicated relationship with deserving that your difficult seasons may have constructed. Receive it as yours, because it is yours, not because you earned it through perfect performance, not because your faith was without doubt or your obedience was without failure, but because you were designated for it, chosen for it in a decision that was made before your circumstances, before your failures, before your doubt, and before your most difficult seasons. The blessing belongs to you with the completeness of a gift, given not because of what you did, but because of who you are. And who you are, chosen, faithful, tested, and still standing, is someone for whom this specific, significant, heaven-released financial provision was specifically prepared. Receive all of it. Let it land fully. Let the gratitude be as complete as the provision. And then, from the fullness of what you have received, pour into the lives of everyone your blessing was always meant to touch. There is something I want to leave with you that goes beyond every practical instruction in this conversation. I want to speak to the part of you that has been carrying this season in a way that nobody fully sees. The part that gets up every day and chooses to keep going, not because going is easy. It has not been easy, but because stopping was never actually an option for someone built the way you are built. I want that part of you to hear this clearly. What you have maintained through this season, the faith that has not died, the vision that has not been extinguished, the choice to keep showing up with integrity when the rewards were not matching the effort has not been invisible. It has not been without record. It has not been maintained for nothing. It has been building the precise conditions for what has now been released. And what has been released is proportional to what the maintaining required, which means it is more significant than your most hopeful moments of this season allowed you to fully imagine. The major financial blessing moving toward your life right now is real. The delivery is in process, and you, the person who has done everything this conversation has described, and more, through seasons far more difficult than most people ever navigate, are completely, fully, irrevocably ready to receive it. Do what I have described today. Clear what needs clearing. Speak what has been released. Take the step that faith requires. Give from what you have. Protect the faith environment. Pay attention to the people arriving. Rest in the certainty. Build the infrastructure. And when it arrives, receive it completely as yours, without apology. Because it is yours. Every last provision of it. Heaven released it. And you are the address it was always coming to. If this conversation reached you at exactly the right moment, if something in it landed with the specific weight of truth rather than just the warmth of encouragement, subscribe. Every single week we bring you the kind of deep, honest, spiritually grounded content that chosen people need at the moments that matter most. Your blessing is released. Your delivery is in process. And you faithful, ready, and more than worthy are about to receive it completely. Stay ready. It is closer than it has ever been.